Have you ever found yourself wondering what is really going on inside the man in your life? Why his mood, his energy, his drive, it all just seems to shift over time? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on all of it. This is your guide to age, testosterone, and masculine vitality. So let's just jump right in with the big question, right? What is that invisible force, that hidden engine, that's really driving his entire existence? I think the answer is a lot more fundamental than most of us realize. And the answer is testosterone. But I want you to think about it in a new way. Our source material calls it the master frequency of the masculine soul. I love that description. It's not just a hormone. It's the core programming that controls his drive, his mental clarity, his health, really his entire operating system. Okay, so to really understand this master frequency, we have to look at how it changes over his lifetime. It's not static. It actually creates a kind of blueprint, a roadmap that breaks down into 3 distinct ages. And here is that blueprint. First, from about 12 to 26, you have the young explorer. Then, from 26 to 40, he becomes the prime stabilizer. And finally, from 40 onward, he enters the age of the mature strategist. Now, let's break down what each of these stages really means for him, and just as importantly, for you. All right, first step, the young explorer. The best way to think of this stage is testosterone drunk. It's like he's got all gas, no brakes. His drive is through the roof, but his focus, not so much. This leads to that classic fast arousal, fast exit pattern. He's not really seeking deep connection yet. He's just trying to figure out how to manage this raw hormonal engine that's suddenly taken over his body. But then he evolves, he becomes the prime stabilizer. Now between 26 and 40, his whole focus shifts. It's not about quantity anymore, it's about quality. And this is so important. Your pleasure becomes the fuel for his confidence. But this is also a vulnerable time. The source talks about psychological impotence, which is a huge deal. It means that repeated rejection can literally create a mental block that damages his confidence, not just in bed, but in his job, his ambitions, everywhere. And then, after 40, he enters his final stage, the mature strategist. His testosterone levels are naturally starting to decline, so the physical side isn't as automatic. Now, psychological arousal is everything. He needs novelty, creativity, experimentation. And this is a critical fork in the road for a long-term relationship. If things become too routine, there's a real risk he'll go looking for a new audience to find that validation. So you might be wondering, okay, how do I know where he is on this hormonal journey? How can I tell what's going on? Well, that brings us to our next section, which is a really practical tool called the testosterone mirror. Think of this as your quick glance guide. On one side, you have the signs of the dip, low testosterone. Things like a larger waistline, fatigue, maybe even depression. And on the other side, you have the peak, high testosterone. That's a smaller waist, more confidence, more resilience. This isn't about judging, it's just about understanding what might be happening under the surface. Now let's really zero in on that waistline for a second, because our source calls this the obesity trap. A waistline over 102 centimeters, or about 40 inches, is a huge red flag. It often means his testosterone levels have sunk below that healthy threshold of 12.7. And why does that matter so much? Because it has a direct physical effect that can be absolutely devastating for him. It can actually cause a retraction of 3 to 4 centimeters. And you can imagine, this doesn't just impact physical pleasure. It can cause a deep sense of shame that leads him to withdraw from intimacy altogether. And this is the crucial part. The physical decline doesn't just stay in the body, it starts a chain reaction that attacks the mind. This is what our source calls the architecture of failure. The connection to brain health is, frankly, alarming. Studies have linked low testosterone to a higher risk of early onset Alzheimer's and dementia. On a more immediate level, you might notice that a man who was once sharp and capable suddenly struggles to handle pressure or seems more forgetful. It's time to pay attention to these signs. Then there's something called the dopamine void. See, an orgasm isn't just for pleasure. It releases a huge hit of dopamine, which is the hormone for performance, focus, and motivation. So when sex becomes infrequent, he's not just missing out on intimacy, he's literally being starved of the key chemical that drives him, which can leave him looking passive, tired, and unmotivated in your life together. And here's a look at the simple mechanics of it all. A sedentary lifestyle, which often goes with weight gain, weakens the pelvic floor muscles. Those muscles are critical for restricting blood flow to get a strong erection. When they're weak, erections are weak. This just feeds that vicious cycle of psychological withdrawal and shame.
Okay, we've gone through a lot of the challenges, a lot of the problems, but now we get to the good part, the solution. And this is where your role can completely transform. This is about becoming a guardian of his vitality.
So here it is, your 3-step mission, if you choose to accept it. First, monitor that waistline, but frame it not as nagging, but as a path back to his own power. Second, ignite his mind. Especially after 40, use creativity, toys, new scenarios, anything to engage that biological reactor on a psychological level. And third, and this might be the most powerful one, be his mirror. Reflect back to him the strong, confident, masculine man you want to see. Your belief in him can literally help him become that man again. And that really brings us to the final, most important takeaway of all. A healthy, successful, and active man is a project you build together. By becoming a guardian of his vitality, you're not just fixing him, you are investing in your shared future. You're building a stronger, more vibrant, and more deeply connected partnership. It's a shared journey, and you, more than anyone, can be the catalyst for incredible positive change.